Even though it is Christmas, take some time to learn more about Norway's history. We are now 1,000 years back in time, when Norway broke out in a civil war which lasted for many decades. Around the year 1000, Norway had been established as a separate and stable kingdom. The question was who this kingdom belonged to. King Harald I Hårfagre and his sons had their power base in Western Norway. In Trøndelag, different lords controlled the area, while the Danish king for long periods controlled the southern Oslo fjord. With King Olav Haraldsson's death in 1030, Norway became a part of the Danish Empire. However, when Knut the Mighty died in 1035, Danish rule over Norway and England fell. After 1035, Norway was ruled by Norwegian kings, who had occasionally also claimed Denmark. Often there were several kings at the same time who shared the power. The king's power lay like a thin line over self-governing communities. The kings traveled from the royal farms to the royal palaces. The journey was a necessity both for gathering support, weapons, men and for power policy reasons to ensure supplies and control. To have several kings at the same time was an appropriate way of governing Norway because the vast distances made it difficult for one king to control the whole kingdom. This way of control demanded, of course, that the ruling kings were good friends. This was not the case for most of the time, and the rivalry between them was almost permanent. The civil war is often considered to start when King Sigurd Jorsalfar died in 1130, and there was an open conflict between Sigurd's son, Magnus, and King Harald Gille. When King Magnus Erlingsson was crowned king by the Norwegian Church in 1163, the civil war seemed to be over. However, the controversy continued when Sverre Sigurdsson came to Norway from the Faroe Islands in 1177. For 7 years, he conducted a war against King Magnus Erlingsson, who ended with the death of Magnus in 1184. Then followed a long-standing war among their supporters from 1196. After King Sverre's death in 1202, the parties approached each other, but it was not until 1240 that the last rebellion against the king's power was put down. The question of what was the cause of civil war has been widely discussed among Norwegian historians. Many believed that the troubles were due to an increasing resource crisis in Norway. One possible reason is that the resource crisis hit the farmers hardest because of the population growth without the resources growing. Another reason could be that the crisis struck the wealthiest men, who had fewer resources after the Viking era ceased, and the king gave land to the church instead of the lords and landowners. When the Civil War era in Norway ended, Norway entered the High Middle Age era. This era lasted until the Reformation came to the country in 1537. Norway at this time had both unified state power and an independent church organization, and the period is characterized by economic prosperity and growth. This was thanks to the unity that was established by King Håkon IV. King Håkon IV Håkonsson, sometimes called Håkon the Old, was the king of Norway from 1217 to 1263. His reign lasted for 46 years, longer than any Norwegian king since Harald I. Under Håkon's rule, medieval Norway is considered to have reached its zenith or golden age. His reputation and formidable naval fleet allowed him to maintain friendships with both the Pope and the Holy Roman Emperor, despite their conflict. At the end of his rule, both Iceland and the Norse Greenland community were added to his kingdom, leaving Norway at its territorial height